AJ Navarro asked us a good question. He's a producer slash engineer, kind of a bedroom studio. And he has a full-time job, generates income. But after he did his friend's mix, which apparently was pretty good if this happened, word got out and the number of clients has grown. And his concern is, how does he balance this? If we have any time management skills or advice for him.
Definitely an interesting thing. Jumping between doing it on the side and doing it full-time it's a pretty big decision to make. I know there was a point in time where I was doing it only full-time, but I also kind of cheated because I was doing it with like a bunch of money saved just in case it didn't work out. So I mean, maybe that is actually a solution too, right? You know, do your full-time gig until you have enough money saved up that if you start prioritizing your mixing work, you'd be okay even if somehow it didn't work out. You know, when I did do mixing full-time, I still didn't work more than maybe 6 hours a day. And 4 hours of that day would be mixing, and 2 hours of it would be maybe editing the next song for tomorrow or making a couple changes, revisions for yesterday's mix. So really it's like a 4-hour mixing block, and then, you know, a 2-hour other stuff that's necessary block. It might even have been like, you know, online marketing or, you know, going back and forth with emails about a project that's coming up, you know, that kind of like management-y stuff.
Yeah.
By making it a 4-hour day for me, I still took a lot of breaks, but I never got to the point that I was digging myself into a hole by over mixing and just losing perspective.
Yeah.
But at the same time, since it's only a 4-hour day, if you're really committed, you can do a full work day and then have a 4-hour day at the end of it. That is your mixing day, you know? And I realize it's an incredibly long day, but I don't think that pursuing something like this is gonna be easy for anybody. Or, I mean, maybe it'll be easy for somebody, but I don't know who, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, like with anything, it requires a lot of time to get good at it. And wherever you can put that time in, it really matters. I remember I was working on a record a while back and doing like this guitar recording stuff as a side thing before my gig, my full-time gig. I'd have to be at work by 10 a.m. So what I'd do is I'd wake up at 6:30, get ready, have breakfast, go down to my home studio, work for 2 hours from 7 to 9, and then from 9:15 to 10 was my commute to work. And I did that for like several months. I was just waking up super early because I just felt like super motivated to get it done. I made very specific choices about what I was going to get done each day and what my goals were for that morning, just so that I could get through it without losing my sanity.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it. And I mentioned in another video, using my calendar, Google Calendar, has been great for my time management. I read a good article about time management. It had a really good suggestion, and that's to actually schedule in your free time. So when you do that, you gain a ton of perspective about how much time you can actually make. That plays a part into how you manage your day, mixing and doing your day job.
Have you started doing that?
I did for a little while, yeah. I kind of want to get back to doing it.
What did you learn?
It just made me 100 times more efficient, prepared me mentally for like the mental energy that I'll need for whatever's coming up. It's just really, really good perspective. And then also it makes it so you value and get more out of your downtime, because that's when you get your information. That's when you recharge.
Well, I think the crux of this question really jumps into that point in time where you go from earning your money from your day job to prioritizing mixing over your day job. You know what I mean? That's definitely a really hard, fine line to be in, especially if you got a day job that you enjoy and all that, and you're making good money, you're paying all your bills with that income.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you go, I'm willing to let go of some of that to jump into something that is, you know, a dream, like a concept that might work, might not, right? It's that whole...
yeah, it's a risk.
Yeah, it's a risk. So the next question I would pull out of that is, when do you decide that time should be spent on mixing these projects and that time should be taken away from your day job?
Definitely.
So, I mean, my answer for that is a little vague. It's more like if you can financially justify one to the other, or if you could justify it beyond just financially. So let's say I've got this mix project, it's going to pay me $4,000. At that point, I'd be willing to knock off enough days from work or whatnot to be equal to $4,000. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I see what you mean.
That's probably not what you have to do, because you're not going to knock off 2 weeks or whatnot of work. But you might say, you know what, I've got to leave early 4 days in a row, right? And ultimately, I think if you do something like that, where you do like a fiscal management thing, you could end up coming up with a reasonably good solution. The only problem there, though, is that most day jobs, you can't just be like, oh, by the way, I'm not going to come in for these 4 days.
Yeah.
Right.
They go, okay, cool, you're never going to come in ever again.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the life you chose.
Yeah, so there's that bit of flexibility. But then beyond just the financial, there's also the goal. right? And if your goal is to be mixing full time, if you've got a gig, even if it doesn't pay you a ton of money, it might pay you back in the other gigs that'll come from it.
Right.
Or it'll pay you back in some sort of social way. Okay, now that I've done this gig for this band is friends with every other band around here. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So even outside of financially, you still need to weigh that in almost like it's financial. Like, let's say it's one band you work for and you know that they are best friends with 3 other bands looking to do a record. Not that you can say you're going to get 100% of all that income. You can't really guarantee that. But you can say there's a possibility that I might get one of the 3, right?
Yeah.
And you can almost use that as part of your financial justification for taking time off something else to go into doing this.
Yeah.
At some point, when you jump in all the way your commitment is going to be different than when you're just like feet wet. The way you work is going to change, and your efficiency of doing the work, probably the quality of your work, it's all going to improve. It's the same as, any day job. If you're part-time on a day job, you're okay at it. Once you go full-time, you usually get a lot better, a lot quicker.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we all kind of want to get to a point where we're that good at our craft, and it's just a matter of carving out the time that allows us to kind of hone that craft, whether it means working the full-time gig and asking to go part-time and starting to really focus on your dream, which is mixing, or working that job you just don't really care about. You put in the hours, you leave it at work, and then you come home and you focus on your dream. Those are all different ways to kind of approach this. But ultimately, you have to make sure that you're financially safe to do that, because you can't just live off credit cards for 2 or 3 years. That's just that's just kind of
no good.
No good.
Ultimately, you want that job that happens to be awesome, but also gives you health insurance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So there's unquestionably a risk involved. No doubt about it. Pursuing your dreams is always going to be risky. At some point, it becomes up to you to make the decision whether or not it's worth it.